Treasure, soon it's Mama's wedding anniversary. Have you thought about it? Emma asked her husband, Michael. I remember. He didn't nod or understand how he could forget something that he was constantly reminded of. There were still 6 months until his mother-in-law's anniversary, but all the conversations were about one thing. I was looking for a nice gazebo as a gift. Why does she need a gazebo? Well, of course, she has wanted one for a long time. Before you give her a gazebo, you have to beautify the area where you want to set it up. Yes, exactly. Why don't you call your contacts? People who work in landscaping. Who will start with the garden, Emma? Asked the man. First, we need to put the house in order, he added, recalling the small house that his mother-in-law had recently bought. Olivia had acquired it for almost nothing. The distant relatives of his mother-in-law had sold the house because no one needed such a farm. The neglected land was overgrown with grass, and the building resembled more of a barn that needed repairs. The house lacked water, gas, and other amenities. However, the only advantage was the breathtaking view of endless fields and a river, as well as the absence of neighbors in close proximity. The house was located at the far end of the village and stood alone. If we do everything right, it will be nice, said the mother-in-law, and invited her son-in-law and daughter to the inauguration party. But Emma didn't want to stay because there was only one living room, not enough space for everyone, and they had to sleep on the floor on an air mattress. It was not a pleasant feeling. In addition, Olivia's stepfather, Olivia's husband, snores a lot and kept the others awake. There was also a summer room, but that had to be isolated and renovated. In order not to have to sleep in the common room, however, Emma was ready to even go with a tent. When it became clear that the couple often had to come to their parents' dacha, she began to persuade her husband to do something to make their stay comfortable. You're on vacation anyway, let's set up a summer room, said Emma. Michael was not the type of man who could work with his hands, but he had the opportunity to hire workers and pay them for their services. After a week of persuasion, Emma enforced her will. Well, I will take care of it, said Michael, and the renovation of the hut began the next weekend. What a great job! The boys are doing so well. Beautiful. My mother-in-law was thrilled. Michael was even happy. He was afraid that she would put her nose in the construction work and that it would drag on. But Olivia only praised the workers. The room was quickly insulated. The walls were in a hurry wallpapered, the window replaced by a new one, and Michael bought a sofa bed to end the matter. Emma was thrilled. Now they no longer needed to sleep in the common room. It was much more convenient, but not for everyone. It's warm in your room now, but our windows are old and the air comes in through the cracks. I got a cold, complained Olivia, and wrapped a scarf around my neck, even though it was already at the end of August. And the new window stands out from the old ones. We should also do the others, said Emma. Honey, your brother does the windows. Why don't you replace them? Michael thought that new windows would cost a lot of money, even with his brother's discount. But arguing with his wife and mother-in-law was even more expensive. He could also see that the new window looked like an ear on his forehead. Well, I'll talk to my brother. Let's go. You are the best, Michael, said Emma. She wanted to make her mother happy, and she had succeeded. Olivia was thrilled and decided to bake cakes, but the cakes didn't want to bake at all. Oh, what an old oven. It's 100 years old. It's nothing like the one at home, sighed her mother-in-law. Honey, you were asking what you should give your mother for her anniversary. Well, here's an idea, winked Emma. Michael looked at her, surprised. He thought that renovating the house and installing windows would be enough of a gift. But his wife disagreed. Muddy, what kind of oven do you like? Of course, one with a stovetop, a gas stove. But we don't have gas in the house, said my son-in-law. Then we'll have to have it installed through a pipeline. By the way, Michael, do you remember you said you have a colleague at work who recently installed his own gas? I wouldn't recommend doing it yourself, warned Michael. And who else except us? Do we have no helpers? Who else can we rely on, if not on ourselves? Olivia looked away. It is difficult without gas. Do you know how high the electricity bill is? This must be due to the renovation work. Your construction workers have heard radio all day. It was battery operations. I don't know that. In any case, it is a high bill. Mom, what are we talking about? Of course we should buy gas. We no longer live in the Stone Age. Honey, can you get the phone number? Michael nodded. He knew that only a specialist company was considered to install the gas, and that it was not so easy and quick. But since the mother-in-law had been a bit lengthy and had risked a lot of trouble, the son-in-law had decided to take the matter back in hand. Emma accepted this fact as a matter of course. Of course we have to help our parents. We will go to this house with our children. We have no children. One day we will have some. In 100 years, because we don't have time to do them. I'm always deciding, doing, thinking for your mother. Don't say things like that, Michael. First, you're not doing it for them, you're doing it for us. And second, what do you mean by do? Do you think you're the only one doing it? I help too. And my stepfather was a big help with the renovations. He brought the paint, he supervised the workers, so don't accept too much praise. Michael didn't argue with his wife. All arguments always ended in long-term resentment. He wanted to solve the gas problem anyway, because he wasn't used to leaving things unfinished. Now we should buy a gas boiler. Then we can pay less. Winter is coming. I'm afraid to imagine how much the electricity bill will be, said my mother-in-law when she saw the process was underway. Olivia, were you planning to live in a holiday home in the winter? Michael asked himself. How could I? We will come here over the new year and also celebrate my wedding anniversary here. The mother-in-law seemed to be obsessed with her little house. Oh well, I don't know what to say. The road is bad. You can't drive here in winter. Let's see. What could you possibly wish for? Maybe we'll get through, the mother-in-law replied. But don't forget the boiler. Find a cheaper apartment. You're good with the internet, not like us old people, my mother-in-law giggled. She used her smartphone very well and bought everything she needed for marketplaces. But when it came to larger purchases, her skills were suddenly limited to the level of a toddler. Michael didn't like that the new house was starting to give him a headache. He wanted to go to his mother-in-law's on the weekends less and less, and was increasingly looking for reasons to stay at home. Mom is worried why we don't come anymore. Do we have to go there every weekend? Asked Michael in amazement. Well, actually they have a room for us. They did? Michael almost choked. I mean, we're together. You got it. Don't mince words. By the way, Mom chose the boiler. All alone. Emma emphasized the word alone to make it clear that Michael wasn't involved. And now? We have to help her. You know she only has a small salary. And the charging, the delivery, the installation. All of this costs money. Emma, don't you think that I only work for this house? That everything I've spent lately has been on this? Renovate and insulate, replace windows, install gas, build a greenhouse, repair the roof, and now the boiler. Well, you didn't want to choose the cauldron. You could have found a cheaper one. But while you were slowing down, she found an expensive one. So you'll have to buy the one she picked. This is your own fault. Is it my fault too? I think you react. I married you, not your mother, and I don't have to fulfill your mood and keep your house. Nobody forces you to support someone. But we have to help, said Emma. Oh, by the way, we should have a toilet in the house before winter. You already know that I can no longer go outside in the cold, right? This is also a problem for Mom. And then there are our children. Emma, we have no children. And I will not have any if I freeze in the cold village toilet. Maybe we shouldn't go to this country house in winter. It's a holiday home in summer, Michael replied, a little rugged. Emma took off. Michael didn't try to calm her down. He did not intend to pour the bonus down the drain. He did not think it was necessary to turn a garden house into a luxurious palace and live there all year round. Autumn also showed that it was very difficult to drive on the washed-out road to the edge of the village, even with her car, and his mother-in-law had a small car with small wheels that got stuck in the mud. That is why Michael had to drive his mother-in-law to the house on rainy days. She was so used to the fact that Michael brought her at first call that she didn't even consider the possibility that her son-in-law could have different interests or a private life. How unhappy? How are we supposed to drive now? Olivia was startled when her daughter told her that Michael refused to drive her. I don't know, Mom. Something happened to him. He hasn't said it yet. How do you communicate two together? What kind of strange relationship is that? Get him on the phone. Hi, Michael. We have to go to the hut. You already know, the boiler is 2. Hello, Olivia. The thing is that you have to take care of the problem yourself. From now on, I will no longer be able to help you. So what's going on? I can't tell you that yet, but believe me, there are reasons for it. Olivia was very angry with her son-in-law. She even said to her daughter that she should no longer talk to him afterwards, or rather to divorce. But Emma gave her husband a chance to make amends. But first, she had to find out why Michael's priorities had changed so drastically. She noticed that he had become nervous and stingy. He also called someone all the time, but Emma didn't know why. She didn't want to ask him directly because she thought he wouldn't say the truth anyway. She started suspecting her husband of infidelity and even overheard his conversations. Mom, I understand you, but you can't joke about something like that. We have to do something as soon as possible, he said. As soon as Michael stopped talking, Emma fell on him with questions. What happened and why didn't you tell me anything? I told you, you just didn't listen to. Mom has joint problems. She has to have an operation. This is the first time I hear that. This is because you have been listening to yourself recently. And what shall I do? What does that have to do with you? Emma ignored these words. I am her son, and I want her to be able to go normally. It should be treated. Treatment without surgery is ineffective. It cannot be postponed. And she has no money for an emergency operation, so she will have it put on the waiting list for a free operation. Yes, that is correct. Your mother is a sensible woman. If it's your turn, it will be too late. Well, other people live like that. I don't care how other people live. It's about my mother. I want her to have the operation as soon as possible, even if it costs money. But you said you had no money for luxuries, and therefore didn't want to buy a new car. Yes, everything went towards your vacation home. Fortunately, you can go to the bank and borrow the amount you need for personal expenses. Have you lost your mind? Let's get into even more debt because someone is impatient. Emma burst out. That is all right. I will pay it off, if I don't waste the money in the wrong direction. The conversation had reached a dead end. Michael saw that he had to help his mother, but Emma saw no immediate need for it. They both stuck to their own opinions, and eventually their paths diverged. It got to the point where Michael didn't go to his mother-in-law on New Year's Eve. He simply wasn't invited. Emma decided to live separately because her husband hadn't consulted her before helping her mother-in-law. Although she regretted breaking up with her husband, her pride prevented her from inviting Michael to celebrate New Year's Eve with her family. Additionally, she did not want to have her mother-in-law, who was not doing well after an operation, and her husband taking care of her, so Emma wanted to spend the holidays with Olivia and her stepfather. Olivia insisted that they go to the cabin, but there was an accident. They got stuck in the snow with their small car before reaching their destination. Instead of welcoming the new year at midnight, they waited for a tractor to pull them out of the snow. But at this time, nobody wanted to work anymore. Call Michael. He should come pick us up from here, said Olivia and Fran in their unsuccessful attempts to find a ride. At first, Emma didn't want to call, but when she realized that she would be here forever, she chose her husband's number. Yes, listen, the thing is, instead of saying, Happy New Year, she said, anyway, you have to come. We sit right behind the curve. I am not guilty of anything, Emma, but I will order a taxi in honor of the holiday because you didn't think about it yourself, said Michael and ended the call. He quickly found the right place on the menu and ordered a taxi, but under one condition. He didn't want to invest a single ruble in this family anymore. Olivia was overjoyed when a car finally arrived for her. A SUV of the luxury class. Our son-in-law is a good man, she grumbled and got into the warm cabin. That does 5,000, reported the driver when he stopped in front of her house. From us? She gasped. Oh well, and from whom? From a squirrel in the forest, joked the driver. The invoice should be paid. No, postpaid was on the order. They took a long time to find out and only paid after the driver threatened with a subordinate fee. Such a seed guy. He decided to make fun of us at such a time. Olivia was indignant, and Emma just went away silently. She was tired, she was cold, and she was hungry. She also wanted to return to her husband, even though he did it to her. But Michael made a final decision and submitted the divorce. In his future, there was no space for Emma and Olivia. He had to get his mother back on his feet, and then think about a real, strong family in which the interests of each family member would be taken into account.